here, please do subscribe, smash the like button on your way in. Hopefully everybody had a really nice lie-in, they're feeling refreshed, they're feeling good, they're ready for a wee chat with myself and each other. And also welcome to those who might be watching on the catch-up that aren't necessarily here for the live show. Maybe you're still having a lie on. It's 12, it's the weekend, maybe some of you are actually still in bed. But just to give you my caffeine update today, because I'm still reeling from the fact that Kai informed us last night, Kai from behind the dugouts, he doesn't drink tea or coffee. Can't believe it. I've already had, wait till I show you this, I've already had my cup of coffee and I am now on to my first cup of tea of the day. So I'm getting through the caffeine good and nearly wake myself up so I have a good old chin mag with you lovely lot. Huge Huge is in the house. I knew I shouldn't have trusted Lou after the last betrayal. What do you mean? I'm here. I'm live. What do you mean? It's only been one betrayal. And to be fair, it was a very important medical appointment. That was so important. I forgot about it. But I don't know. Do you know the way you can have, like, when you put a thing on your calendar on your phone, you can set a reminder? I had to set the reminder for like 2 hours before the appointment because I knew I was going to forget, and it was at that point I had to be like, I'm not doing the stream, guys, sorry. But no, I'm here. 3 minutes late. To be fair, Huge, by my standards, 3 minutes is actually very good. Can you imagine? Imagine if I started turning up on time for every stream. You'd all think I'd been abducted by aliens. I mean, let's not lie. The reason I actually continue to be late at this point is I'm protecting you. I'm protecting you from worrying about me. But guys, once you've come in, once you've said hi, once you've smashed that like button, please do also make sure that you get a vote in the poll. It's a really interesting poll this morning. It's one I feel quite conflicted about, and I'll always say that. So if I have a strong opinion on something, I'll say I have a strong opinion. If I'm a bit like, you know what, I probably understand both sides, I probably kind of see where both people are coming from, I'll say that too, because I'm a firm believer that while I am a very opinionated human being, we don't have to have opinions on everything. We don't have to have a like, I'm going to die on this hill in every scenario. If people feel strongly, all well and good, but it's okay not to sometimes as well. It's okay to just, you know, I kind of think this, but I'm open to that. That's okay too. But without further ado and further waffle, the poll says, which manager should get the final say on if a player plays during international break? The first option is the club. They pay the wages, and so far 60% have voted for that. And the other option is country. It's an honour to play for your country. So we have a few votes in on that already. And we, obviously 60-40, I mean, there's not a massive split in there. I think it is one of those where you can understand both sides, for me personally anyway. Shem is in the house, lovely Shem. Shem is saying, good morning, lovely Lady Lou, hope you're well today. Spurs are unbeaten for almost a whole week. We are winning it all. Oops, think I took too many happy pills this morning. Welcome to Shem. Do you know what, Shem? I love that you're always so happy. I love that you're always like, no matter what's happening with your club, you're in here like a little ray of sunshine, just bringing some joy. I love it, love it, love it. But guys, why am I even talking about this? Because, you know, am I just trying to start a fight? Am I trying to make sure that everybody falls out with each other? You're going to have one opinion, it's just going to be chaos in the comments? No, that's not why. I haven't just decided what way can I start a row today. How much tea can we spill? But that's not the reason. There have been some stories. You will see one of them in the thumbnail. I love that picture. It's such a good picture. But Mama Flossie is in the house. Lovely Harold is in the house. Guys, everybody is here. Oh, the voting. We have now moved to 57% and 43%. This one is going to be close. I can feel it in my bones. So let us go to the first story and one of the reasons that I'm talking about this. So according to Chris Wheeler in the Mail Sport, Slovenia boss warns Man United he won't be pushed around over Benjamin Sesko. United would never push an international manager around. Now, guys, I've come to an understanding, okay? So it seems Rob is also in the house. Welcome, Rob. It seems that I'm quite decent, I think, at being sort of somewhat fair when it comes to other teams. So like if I speak about Liverpool or, Chelsea or Newcastle or whatever, I think overall I'm reasonably fair. Now, I'm always going to let my Manchester United fandom hang out. Always. I said that from the very beginning. I'm a fan. I want to talk like a fan. But I think I'm overall fair. However, I have discovered through this channel that when it comes to United, I feel a little bit protective. I don't know if you guys have noticed over the last few days. But I feel like I might be slightly less impartial when it comes to Manchester United. However, on this one, I do have to admit that we tend to interfere. We do, as a club, and Sir Alex Ferguson was quite bad for this. We do tend to intervene when it comes to international football. And I suppose as someone who doesn't particularly follow a lot of international football, because we see how Ireland does in that, it's never really bothered me, because in the nicest way, I don't care how England does, I care how Man United does. So it's never really bothered me. And I suppose as you get older, you sort of, you grow. Emotional intelligence blossoms for some of us. And yes, I'm counting myself in the category. And you start to understand the other point of view. But this is a long-standing tradition at Manchester United where we interfere and where our players suddenly become injured right before international duty to the point where they can't play because they've picked up an injury or a niggle, or there's a problem, or they just can't play, and it's just terrible. And as I said, Sir Alex Ferguson was absolutely notorious for this. So I thought it was only fair today that I did start with Manchester United because this is our lane. Shem is saying, look what happened with Barcelona. They've now lost Rafinha. He's now out for 5 to 6 weeks with only 9 games left in La Liga because of injury in an international game. And that's part of it. So we're going to get into that kind of a thing on why clubs don't want their players playing in these, particularly when it's a friendly. And we're going to talk a little bit about the England match. I didn't watch it, but we're going to talk about some of the incidents that obviously I have seen because they're literally everywhere. I woke up this morning having my coffee and I was like, what are we going to talk about today? What can myself and the teacups talk about today? What's new? And the only thing on my bloody news feed everywhere is Tonali. It is the only thing on my entire news feed is Tonali. I am not talking about it. Not this week. Although, to be fair, today is Saturday. But I'm not talking about it this week unless he comes out and there's an interview of him live saying, I'm going to join this team. I'm not talking about him. Not this week. But yeah. So Jenny's here. Hi, Jenny. Let me see. Harold is saying for him, international football comes first. And I do think that varies nation to nation. And I'm going to get into that as well. So do keep getting your votes in on that poll because it is a tricky one. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the Slovenia boss had to say. So and this is in the Daily Mail, okay? By Chris Wheeler, who I think we'll all be familiar with at this point. Did Nathan sneak in? Nathan's there. He snuck in. I didn't even notice him. Hello to Nathan. But the Daily Mail, Chris Wheeler says, the Slovenia boss warns Manchester United he will not be pushed around over Benjamin Sesko after the standoff. Slovenia boss Boštjan Cesar has warned Manchester United that he will not be pushed around over Benjamin Sesko's international availability. What would make him come out and issue this warning, you ask? Well, Sesko will miss the friendlies away to Hungary in Budapest on Saturday, that's today, and Montenegro in Podgorica on Tuesday after he withdrew to recover from what Man United said was an issue they have been carefully managing through recent weeks. Cesar accepted the decision but still wanted Slovenia's medical staff to assess their star striker at a training camp in Ljubljana this week. Now, I'm going to pause there for a little minute. So, I can understand, given United's history with niggles before international breaks, and the likes of a Ryan Giggs, who famously was just never available for international football, I can understand why people might be a little bit sceptical about this. However, United fans have been asking for weeks and weeks and weeks, why is Sesko not starting matches? Why is Sesko only being used as a sub? Why is he becoming a super sub? Although I think the only person that should ever be used about is Ollie. I think anyone else, bless them, it's not fair. But fans have been wondering this. And if they've been managing his minutes due to an injury that we didn't know about, that actually, to be fair, fits what's been happening. If he can't play the full 90 minutes for United, then it would be weird if he could suddenly go and do it on international duty. So while I understand the scepticism, it does make sense in light of what's actually been happening, okay? But Cesar accepted the decision but wanted Slovenia's medical staff to assess their star strikers. So they're like, okay, that seems plausible, but we still want to check it ourselves. We're not quite sure how much we believe you. Which is fair. I understand that. But United were happy for Sesko to go because he had planned to head home for a few days rest anyway, and it meant he could have his first face-to-face meeting with the new national team manager since Cesar took over in January. However, and the reason there might be a little bit of mistrust here, is it follows a tense standoff between club and country in November when Sesko withdrew with a knee injury sustained at Tottenham and Cesar's predecessor Matthias Keck complained over a lack of communication from United. Matthias, my wee friend, that's not personal to you. Our club just can't communicate with each other, let alone the rest of us. Don't take it personal, lad. It's not you, it's definitely them. Slovenia's subsequent defeat to Kosovo ended their hopes of World Cup qualification, and it was decided that Keck's contract would not be renewed, which is why this new chap, Bostian Cesar, is now in charge, and he's laying down the law. He's like, okay, we'll believe you, but we're double checking it ourselves. We're checking your homework, which I think is fair. But he's not the only one with the problem. Oh, he had more to say, lads. He had more to say. Right, yous have lots to say. I have more to say. Let's get into it. So let's go back a little bit because I don't want to miss any of your comments because some of them are really good. I see them. I do see them coming in. Okay, so Harold, we read that about the international football. Flossie is saying, I can understand friendlies, but when it comes to representing your country, it's a privilege. And so I suppose that's a fair point, and maybe I should have added that to the poll. It depends on whether it's a friendly or an actual competition, because I think that's a really fair point that I didn't think of beforehand. So, fair point, Flossie. Shem is saying, and then you have Romero, who always shows up for Argentina, but Spurs, he's most of the time conveniently injured or gets a red card, or a few games before international break, he just goes missing and doesn't put any effort in, like what happened in the Forest game, but is always available when Argentina calls. And I don't want to typecast people here because obviously everybody is not the same, but I personally find from the outside looking in, I often find that South American players prioritise international football. Now, again, that's not the rule for everyone, so I personally don't feel that Casemiro's effort dropped prior to the international break. However, I do feel that South American players, for them, the pinnacle is your country, and that comes above all. And I'll use another United player, so I'm not picking on other teams. Martinez, when they won the World Cup, he went and he celebrated, But then he kept celebrating and kept celebrating. It took him several weeks to come back after the World Cup because he was celebrating for so long. And while I understand it's an absolutely incredible achievement, one you want to celebrate, that was when United was under Ten Hag. We were absolutely sinking. We were sinking. The ship was sinking faster than the Titanic. We were torpedoed from both sides. And I just thought, do you know what? We are paying your wages. You've gone and played, you've won, you've celebrated. Surely 1 week of celebration is enough. Come back and play now, please. We are buggered. And look, I understand. And maybe in that scenario, I'd be a way off. Do you know what I mean? But I just think that's a good example of two different players that both play for the same club with very different reactions. Do you know what I mean? So just, yeah, I do think that, to be fair. Ultra's in the house. Welcome. Flossie is saying, when I was young, I got called up to play for my country. It was the best thing ever to be recognised. Well done, Mama Flossie. Just a hidden gem in there. Harold is saying, for friendlies, there should be an acceptance of bowing out, like Norway and Haaland, giving him time to rest. That's fair. Ultra is saying, of course, Flossie, it should be an honour. They have enough money anyways. They've more than the rest of us, don't they? Huge is saying, I agree with the thought, but not with the amount of football and the money involved. A bad injury could cost them millions in contract renewal for something mostly meaningless in an ever-growing number of seasons. And that's fair too. Right. But Cesar had a little bit more to say, and he wasn't the only international manager talking, so I'll finish off what he was saying. He was stamping his authority, I suppose, after his predecessor got a wee bit maybe played by the club. He wants to put his mark as soon as he comes in, like, this big club isn't going to push this small country around kind of thing. I'm the new guy in town and you're not going to bully me type of thing. So on Friday, Cesar said he accepted the reasons for Sesko pulling out on this occasion, but warned that Slovenia would stand their ground in future when it came to calling up the 22-year-old. National teams can insist on players reporting for duty even if their clubs say they are injured, and Cesar said that United will be treated the same as Slovenian teams, such as current league leaders NK Celje, when it comes to enforcing UEFA rules. Normally the national team is crucial for us, a little less so for them, but it's better for Benjamin not to train for these 14 days. Our medical department immediately assessed it would not be good for him to play, but we must value ourselves. We are a small country, but this is a national team. For me, and I am the responsible one, there will be no deviation here. Whether it's Manchester United or Celje, you know what UEFA's national team rules are. There will be no deviation. And you know what? The reason I wanted to talk about this story first is I totally respect that. Like, as a Manchester United fan, I'm like, we pay your wages, you play for us, you're contracted to us, we'll make the decisions. As just a person, like, looking in on this, I'm like, do you know what? The rules are the rules. It shouldn't matter how big or small your team is. He's right. What he's saying is every single club is going to be treated the same. You're not going to get treated because you're a big club. Like, if we want our players, we're going to call them up and you're going to suck it up, and I'm not going to make any difference just because of who you are. I'm going to treat your teams the same as our teams, the same as every other team, and that's just the way it's going to be. And he's setting his stall out early, and I respect it. I really like it. Do you know what I mean? I think fair play to him. He's not mincing his words. He's not like, oh, well, it's Manchester United. He doesn't care. This is my player. I want him to play. On this occasion, I will agree with you because it's what's best for the player. So I like that he's setting out his stall. I like that he's being clear. I like that he's saying there's not going to be any differential treatment. But I also like that he's not trying to force the player to play when it's not good for him just to prove his point. So I think he's got it right on both ways. He's done what's best for the player instead of trying to prove a point, but he's also very loudly and clearly made the point. So I like it. I like what he's done. I like what he said. It's very hard to disagree with. And it seems to be that he's doing his job. He's doing what's best for his player and his team, regardless of who that impacts. And I think he's right. I think he's 100% right. And if it was Ireland, that's what I would want. So I really can't. I've nothing bad to say about him. But I wanted to cover that one first, so we didn't have any bias. We didn't have any, but you wouldn't say that about a United player. So the other one I want to talk about is the Hungary coach, Rossi, who was speaking on Szoboszlai. Slot wants Szoboszlai to play less for Hungary. Now, I want to show you guys this one because, again, it's kind of, we talked the other day about sometimes when we see things on the internet, we have to question if they're real. Is this thing on the internet real and is it true? What were we talking about the other day? And it turned out, about the referee being suspended and it just wasn't true. So this one I find interesting. So it was shared by Anfield Papers, which is a reasonably big account, it has a little blue tick, has 28,000 followers. And so what they have said is, Hungary coach Rossi on Arne Slot wanting Szoboszlai to play less for Hungary. And this is the quote that they have put out there, okay? I will not listen to a coach who spends £450 million and worsens his squad, who also plays his best player at right back, okay? And when you read that, you're like, well, damn. Well, he has gone all the way out there, way he's off on one. But you do have to wonder, did he really say that? And frankly, I don't speak Hungarian, so I couldn't fact check this myself. However, there's a nice person here, because you have to have the blue tick to ask Grok things now. So this nice person asked Grok, is this true? Did he say this? So, according to Grok, it's not quite fully true. He did push back on Slot's fatigue and rest comments for internationals, and he did say that he won't let club bosses dictate his calls and won't interfere with how Slot uses Szoboszlai in defence and right back. But the part about the 450 million and worsening the squad and all of that doesn't appear to be true. It's pure social media spice. Classic footy banter escalation. Oh, I love it. So he did push back. He did say he's not going to bow down to the club manager. He did say you're not going to tell me how to play my player. But he didn't say the part about the 450 million and worsening the squad. But so I'm sure there are others out there, but these were the two examples that kind of come out there for me about kind of international managers pushing back against big teams, against like Manchester United, against Liverpool, against the big boys. Like, just because you're a big club doesn't mean you're bigger than our international team. Stay in your lane. When he's with you, but when he's with us, and you just need to mind your business. So I find it very interesting. Do you know what I find this season particularly? And even since last summer, a lot of things that would have traditionally played out behind closed doors are now playing out publicly. And while I question how good that is for the teams involved or the players involved, I do think it's wonderful because everybody is spilling the tea all over the internet publicly. And we're just here like, look at all of this gossip. But I do question how positive it can be for the players and teams involved. As I said, though, I very much see both sides. The club managers, which their job is to look after their club, to do what's best for their club and their players within their team and squad. That's what they're trying to do. The international managers, their job is to look after their country team, their squad, their players. So I completely see both sides. 100% see both sides. Which is very, very interesting. But obviously, as Shem alluded to, one of the main reasons the club managers don't want their players going on international duty, particularly when it's for friendlies. And I want to stress that because I didn't stress that enough in the poll. I do think one of the main reasons is because they want their players to be able to rest and they don't want their players to get injured. Because, hello, it's happening. But let me read some of your comments. Aaron has joined us. Welcome to Aaron. What are we saying? Ultra is saying, if the clubs and players don't like it and are not happy about money, about injuries, we don't need them. Stay and play at your club and that's it. There are plenty who want to come. I understand about the money, the injury not so much. I don't think any player should have to play with and I don't mean a little niggle, I mean like a proper injury if you're actually injured. So for example, and I'm going to use the Sesko example here, we know Sesko's minutes have been managed at United. We know that he hasn't been playing as much as we kind of think he should. For him to be injured would make sense. So he's not suddenly injured for international duty. He has been not fully at the races even for club. So when it's a scenario like that where you know the player is genuinely injured, that much I wouldn't have a problem with, because you can't just recover yourself just because you want to. Players that suddenly become injured for international duty, that's a different story. In that case, I would agree with your point. So I do think it depends if it's a real injury. Let me see. Rob, I like a lot of what Carrick does. I think he should be in the running for the manager job. Rob, I don't think he should be in the running for the manager job whatsoever. I think he's doing damage to the club and to the players. I think he's making them more unfit. I think he's making them more indisciplined. And I actually think that he's making the job for the next manager much, much harder. And I've been the first little while when he was in charge, I said I felt that he should, if he does a good job, that should qualify him for an interview. But as time has gone on, I think he's doing more damage than good. And I think there's more to being a good head coach or manager than just the results. They need to be sustainable, they need to be long term, and you need to be building something properly as a foundation. I think what he has done is dismantle the foundation that was being put in place. While I didn't like what Amram was doing on the pitch, what he was doing off the pitch was good, and I think Carrick has destroyed it. However, I do believe I'm in the minority. I think a lot of people are in your camp, Rob, and at the very least want him to be interviewed. So there's definitely a split on that, but I mean, let's face it, when is there not a split in our fan base? And Flossie, on this Saturday afternoon, is giving everyone a gentle reminder to please hit that like button. But when we talk about managers not wanting their players to go on international duty, and we'll talk particularly about friendlies, because that's what's happening at the minute, is I don't mean the qualifiers, I mean the friendlies that have been taking place. One of the reasons, as we said, is because of injury. And so yesterday, Noni Madueke, after the England friendly, walked through the mixed zone at Wembley with a brace on his left leg. He had to be substituted in the first half after colliding with Uruguay's Rodrigo Aguirre. So, I would imagine that the people at Arsenal are raging right now because their player, in a potential title-winning season, in the run-up, in the last games, is now in a leg brace for a game that didn't mean anything. A game that was a friendly, a game that literally didn't matter. It didn't mean anything, the outcome. It was more of a training match, but nobody told Uruguay, apparently, because what I have seen from that match has been incredible. The other thing that was a little bit crazy, and the other thing that can lead to injuries during any match but friendlies, is when a player gets 2 yellow cards and isn't sent off the pitch. Which is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I had to check this several times because I was like, what? And obviously, as I said, I was live last night, so I wasn't watching the match. So I've been looking like at the news and kind of highlights around it and that sort of a thing. And I was like, what do they mean he got 2 yellow cards and he wasn't actually sent off the pitch? How does that happen? How does one not send the player off the pitch? And if there's VAR, how does VAR not? Surely that's a clear and obvious error. I mean, VAR gets involved in a lot of things, but that feels like a clear and obvious error. So he got 2 yellow cards. And then I saw some scenarios where they said, no, the first yellow card wasn't for him. It was actually for a different player. And then the second thing was that the second yellow card was rescinded and therefore he actually got no yellow cards. So Manuel Ugarte, after getting 2 yellow cards and not being sent off, has finished the match with no yellow cards because one wasn't for him. and one was rescinded, which I don't believe you're actually allowed to do. Maybe you can, I don't know, but I've never seen it before in my life. So, like, by the sounds of it, the referee had an absolute mare. But also, right, we saw this in a Premier League match recently, where a player was given a yellow card and the referee forgot and then gave a second yellow card and did have to send the player off the pitch, but you could tell he'd forgotten he'd given the first yellow. We spoke about it on the match reaction. I can't remember which match it was, but we spoke about it at the time. So it can happen. There's a lot happening. It's a fast-paced game. Things can happen. I forget. I have sympathy because I forget everything all the time. So I have a little bit of sympathy, okay? But I thought that's why they write it down in the book. So they can look like, what he could have done was he could have been like, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to sneak a look at the people that's already inside my little book. Is Ugarte's name in there before I give him a second yellow? Or what is the point of the headset if you can't use it? Could he not have just asked VAR, excuse me, VAR, can you please tell me if I've already given this man a yellow card? Because I don't remember. Can you please just double check that for me? Or even after he's already given it, VAR can turn around and be like, dude, that's the second yellow, he gotta go. I don't really understand. I don't understand how this can happen. VAR, I don't know. I watch a lot of shipwrecks and stuff. And boat sinkings, I love all that. Plane crashes, boat sinkings, all the disaster, calamity, chaotic stuff, love it. YouTube's fantastic. But sometimes you see people do things and you're like, how can you possibly do that? How stupid do you have to be? But yeah, so let me see what you guys are saying about this. I've seen Aaron already, but I'm going to try and go through them in order. Huge agrees with me about Carrick and Amarin. Woohoo, we don't agree a lot, Huge, so that's a big one. Also says the ref had a shocker in the match last night. Shem also says the ref had a shocker. Was it Michael Oliver in disguise? Actually, I think it was a German referee. I thought they would be stricter, more organised. Apparently not. Yeah, it was German because Aaron has deleted all of his German contacts. I'm not reading the rest of that. Hugh says no one knows what was going on. Well, clearly nobody knew what was happening. And to be fair, Ugarte is not going to be like, that's my second yellow, lad, I have to go. He shut up and just carried on playing. But would the England manager not have gone to the fourth official and be like, that's his second yellow card, somebody needs to get him off the pitch? Did just nobody say anything? Did everybody just pretend it hadn't happened until after the match? Why did nobody say anything? That's baffled me. And again, I didn't watch it, so maybe somebody did and they ignored them. Tell me if that's happened. But yeah, Rob is saying it's a joke. What else? Oh, right, we're all having a bit of a joke. I think we're all having a joke. I assume we're all having a joke. Yeah, everybody's having a joke. We're all laughing. We've got laughing fishes, laughing little green men, laughing. Loads of laughing. Okay. But yeah, so it was a bit of a shambles, and obviously it's part of the reason why managers don't want their players going on international duty, because we are trying to avoid this. Just thought that was incredible. When I read it, I thought it was incredible. However, another part of the reason, so like with Benjamin Sesko, that managers don't want their players going away is not just to prevent injury, but it's to facilitate sort of recovery from injuries that have already been sustained. So again, in Sesko's case, but also, I didn't know this, but Vicario. So we have spent we have spent a lot of the season talking about goalkeepers. Good goalkeepers, bad goalkeepers, goalkeepers that make a difference, goalkeepers that are important for their teams, etc., right? We spent a lot of time this season talking about the goalkeepers. They've been very popular and unpopular at the same time. Then, obviously, we had the incident where Igor Tudor picked Kinski. Now, I'm not just bringing that up for the fun, so bear with me. I'm going to tie it all back around, okay? But we had the incident where Igor Tudor played Kinski. And everybody said he shouldn't have played him, he's too young, it cost them the match, blah, 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 blah. They're now out of the competition because of a bad decision by the manager. However, one of the players that is using this international break to deal with an injury is Vicario. So Tottenham Hotspur, we can confirm then Guglielmo, sorry, I'm so sorry, Vicario. I'm going to just stick to his surname because I can't call him Guglielmo. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Oh no, I'm never going to be able to look at him the same again. So we can confirm that Guglielmo will undergo surgery. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Do you know when something just really tickles you? That's it, I'm done. I'm done. Sorry. Spurs are having such a tough time and I'm just laughing at them. Right, I'm going to try again. I'm going. Okay, right, I'm fine. We can confirm that Vicario will undergo surgery next week on a hernia. The minor procedure for the Italy international goalkeeper has been timed to have as minimal impact on our season as possible. Guglielmo will commence his rehabilitation with our medical staff immediately, and it is hoped that he could return to action within the next month. Now, the reason this ties in is obviously we're talking about recovering and injuries and kind of why players might not play for their international teams, etc., etc. Okay? So obviously Vicario is not going to be playing for his international team because he's having this surgery and he's hoping to do it over international break so it won't impact Spurs' season instead of doing it outside of an international break. Obviously, makes sense. But it did make me wonder when I saw this, is this why Kinski got a chance? Were they hoping that if Kinski came in the cup competition and did well and performed, that actually Vicario would have been able to go and have this surgery earlier and then be back sooner? So if Kinski had performed and not had to be subbed off 15, 16 minutes into that match, would Kinski have then continued to play all the matches up to international break? Vicario would have had his surgery earlier and then already be recovering. So it did make me wonder, is this the reason? Because a lot of people said, why now? Why now? It doesn't make sense. Now, to me, I didn't question it that much, I'll be totally honest. But for those that did question or wonder, maybe this was the reason. Maybe there was a genuine medical reason that it was done at that time and it wasn't just a random decision by Igor Tudor. Maybe it made complete sense. Maybe there was a purpose to it. So I did find this very, very, very interesting because they specifically say to have as minimal impact on our season as possible. So they were hoping 2 or 3 matches for Kinski, then you've got the full international break, and are Spurs out of the FA Cup? I'd imagine so. Maybe they're not, but let's just say, then that's basically the month of recovery. He would have been back by the time the club was back. So I found that very, 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 very interesting. It's my theory. Let me know what you think. Do you think that is a possibility that's why they tried to do that? Or do you think I'm reading too much into it? Do we think Kinski was played with the intention of letting Vicario have his surgery earlier and then it was a disaster and they couldn't and so they've had to wait? Or do you think, no, it was just a bad decision at the time? Let me know what you think. That's my theory. Let me see. Shem, and this is what I find very interesting because I've seen this a little bit over the last while. Shem says, but I always thought if you played for United, you're allowed 3 yellows and then a red. I don't know how to tell you this, Shem, but Manchester United doesn't play in the international break. Manchester United wasn't playing last night. Manchester United didn't play against England. It was Uruguay. He was playing for his country. It was an international competition. So it had absolutely not one single thing to do with Manchester United whatsoever. Nothing. Not a single thing. I saw a post the other day about Garnacho. And it was Garnacho had done something bad. And they posted him in a Man United jersey. even though he plays for Chelsea. And I was like, so they're posting something negative about a player and they put the player in a Man United kit, even though he's not a Man United player and he doesn't play for Man United and he's a Chelsea player. I find it interesting. Like, Ugarte is playing for his country, not United, but it's United that gets away with all the cards. Garnacho does something wrong, put him in a United jersey, except he's not a United player anymore. It's interesting. It's interesting to see these things in action. But oh dear. Shem is saying, yeah, you're out of all the FA Cup. Yeah, to be fair, so are we. Harold says, no, it was just a bad decision. Harold, I liked my theory. I thought it was a good one. Harold's like, no, just be logical. It was just a bad decision. Huge says, with Googly, it's hard to tell. I can't. Bless him. And it's probably good. I'm actually going to make it worse. The better I try and make it, the worse it's going to be. So I'm just going to apologise for saying his name terribly and call him Vicario forevermore. But honestly, I hope he recovers well, but I'm never going to look at him the same. Now, I do have another story I want to bring in. It's not really related at all, if I'm being totally honest, but I saw this story recently and I thought it was absolutely, completely fucking nuts, like just mental. And it's about an injury. So this is about the only time I'm going to get to talk about it, or I'm just never going to be able to talk about it. So we're going full like off-road. We're going full rogue here, okay? So since we're talking about player injuries, which has nothing to do with internationals, did you see how I've just wound it away completely? We're on a completely different topic now. Just magical. But according to The Athletic, right, and listen to this one, Kylian Mbappe's knee injury was misdiagnosed after Real Madrid medical staff performed an MRI scan on the wrong leg back in December. When no problem was found after a scan of his uninjured right knee, the 27-year-old featured in 3 games for Madrid before the mistake was realised and rectified. We talk about incompetence a lot on this channel. People that are bad at their job. Generally, it's referees. We've talked about some managers. We talk about players. But can I just say, how in the name of Christ does a professional medical team, right? There's more than one person involved in this, who run Real Madrid's medical staff for the players, worth millions, okay? There's so much money. How do they do an MRI on the wrong leg? And nobody notices for 3 matches. How does that happen? How does one manage this? And I have to say, I always thought Manchester United had the worst medical team in the world. But you know what? It goes to show that money can't buy you everything. Because really and truly, how do you do an MRI on the wrong leg? And nobody noticed. So it's not just international duty where players get injured. Players get injured for clubs as well. So I understand the fear. I understand both sides. I don't actually personally think either of them are wrong. I think both of them are doing their jobs. It's just that their jobs don't necessarily equal the same thing. So I don't necessarily have a problem with either of them. But, Guess has just arrived. Guess, I'm going to reread this for you, okay? Because you and Nathan will probably be the most interested in this. I just thought it was mental, because we talk about the medical teams in the Premier League, we talk about United, we talk about Arsenal, we talk about other teams. But I thought this was insane. So let me take a sip of tea, and then I'm going to read this out for you again, so you know that I didn't read it wrong the first time. So, according to The Athletic, Kylian Mbappe's knee injury was misdiagnosed after Real Madrid medical staff performed an MRI scan on the wrong leg back in December. When no problem was found after a scan of his uninjured right knee, the 27-year-old featured in 3 games for Real Madrid before the mistake was realised and rectified. Genuinely, I don't have enough words for how bad that is. I don't think Real Madrid can ever say anything about any of their players going on international duty, ever. They have lost any opinion on that. That is insane. Like, that's really insane. So when we're talking about player injuries, players playing too many matches, the strain on their bodies, more competitions, longer seasons, when we're talking about all of these things that are related to player welfare, how can a full medical team perform an MRI on the wrong knee? I genuinely don't understand this. I don't get it. Baffled, completely baffled. But I see Lucky has also joined us. Lucky doesn't want Elliot Anderson. He's happy for him to go to City. Guess is sorry for being late, but actually I just think it's unacceptable. Harold said there's nothing wrong with my theory. Well, that's okay for me then. Ultra is saying Mbappe is 27. That's what it says here, according to The Athletic, yeah. The 27-year-old featured in 3 games. So yeah, they're saying he's 27. I'd imagine that's the kind of thing they would check. I hope. Yes. Well, that's true, Harold. It creates extra clicks if Man United are involved. Unfortunately, it does. Guess is saying the Madrid medics have been pretty bad for a while. There's been some drama before. Well, bloody hell, they outdid themselves here. So guys, let me end the poll. Which manager should get the final say on if a player plays during international breaks? 58% of you have said the club because they pay the wages. Oh, no, it's changed while we're live. 62% of you have said the club because they pay the wages. And 38% of you have said the country. It's an honour to play for your country. Now, I'm going to end. Oh, we've had another vote. So it's now 64 and 36. So I think we have all... Jay's here. Hello, Jay. We haven't seen you in a little while. Welcome. Ultra saying shock, and I thought he was like 23 or 24. No, he's 27 now. He's aging. He's aging faster than the rest of us. So I've ended the poll, people. I have remembered to end the poll on a live show. Congratulations to me. But, yeah, I suppose where I land on it, I understand both sides. I think for me it feels like it seems to vary from country to country how much value people place on it. So as I said, I find generally the South American countries, they country first always. I know definitely here in Ireland, we're so bad, but we absolutely value it. It's like such a high honour. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole country, and maybe it is because we're so bad. When we do anything, like the whole country just stops. See if we had won that match, even though we still would have had another match to play, we still wouldn't have been through. If we had won that match against Czechia, the whole country would have been to a standstill yesterday, like 100% a standstill. So, yeah, I think it depends. It seems to vary country to country, and obviously you can't put everybody in the same boat. It is going to vary slightly. I personally think it's a massive, massive honour to be able to play for your country. I completely understand why players would want to do it. However, I do also understand the club side of it, as in we're paying the wages, therefore we get a final say. As I said, I'm actually very, very much in favour of the way the Slovenia boss is dealing with the Sesko situation, Bastian Cesar. Like, okay, I'm not going to make the player play if I don't think it's what's best for him, but I'm doing it because it's what's best for the player. I actually couldn't care less what United have to say on the matter. I'm on board with that, if I'm honest with you. I'm on board with that. But guys, that has been our lunchtime show. We are 50 minutes in talking about I actually don't even know what. We just had such a good chat. It's such a good chat. We went all the way around the houses. Please do smash your like on the video. I will be back this evening, 7 p.m, back to the normal time tonight, 7 p.m. Hopefully, I will see all, if not most of you guys there. Share the video with your friends, share the channel with your friends, subscribe to the channel. We're doing our best to get to 500. Once we hit it, I'm going to stop talking about it. So there's a real positive. Thank you all for being here, for spending your time with me, for interacting with the video, for getting your opinions across. And I will talk to you all very, very soon, I hope. Enjoy the rest of your day.